Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. Let's take a look at some alts. Not much going on out there. Not much has changed week over week. If anything, there's a bullish divergence here on stablecoin prints in stablecoins in circulation. We're seeing $1 billion over the past week minted between Tether and USDC. Once this United States stablecoin bill passes, I'd expect even more stablecoin volume and stablecoin minting. It's going to be the great stablecoin boom of 2025. Looking at total 2, some of the stablecoin minting should eventually go into alts because that's where most of stables end up in trading somewhere. Just looking at the technicals for total 2, we still have that falling wedge, sickle sigh pattern, still not quite bottomed. This took months to bottom last year when we had a similar pattern. So what is there to do here, right? Nothing in aggregate, really not much else to say or do. I wish there was some dispersion among alts even where there's some trades to be had outside of just the contra trend trade stuff, but there's nothing that's really like leading the rest of the market in a big way, at least on the bigger market cap side that matters. So still in bearish territory, trying to reverse, trying to pull up. This is a tradable bottom on a lot of charts. Reality versus expectations. April 2nd is all that matters. That's when the tariffs come. The severity of the tariffs matters less than the perception of future outcomes, right? This could take time to work its way in the ecosystem as far as prices and inflation and jobs. So who knows? But is that a good time to load the boat on alts? Probably not. You probably want to wait to see what happens there. And that's, I think, where most of the market is at right now. I'll bring up coin as well because coin is basically total 2. They have a very tight correlation. And coin's in a similar boat where it had this falling wedge into Q4 last year that bounced, and now it has another falling wedge in bearish territory. Is it a tradable bottom? Sure, but you probably want to wait for April. Mid-April, you'll know. Mid-April, you'll know if we have a similar inverted head and shoulders setup like we had into Q4 or not. So I don't really think it makes too much sense to jump into alts in a big way. This is the circulating supply for Tether and USDC. USDC actually surpassed its previous all-time high of 55 billion in circulating supply. And Tether also has surpassed its all-time high now at 144 billion. They are also, I think, the 7th largest entity of US treasuries from their holdings. So they are massive, even on a global scale. And they're only likely to get bigger so long as the US stablecoin bill doesn't regulate them out of existence in the United States, which it likely won't, because the United States needs somebody to buy its debt. And that somebody could be stablecoin issuers, including Tether. Dominance continues to look bullish. It's black and white, right? That's it. Okay, well, I know what to do now. I know not to load the boat on alts because this is sitting at local highs, looks like a cup and handle, looks ready to go up to me. You can let me know in the comments why I should be bearish on dominance, but this could go to 70, 72. You won't really need to guess if dominance is rolling over. You will see it. It will be happening. It hasn't rolled over, right? Last time it rolled over was at this level after spending some time painting a head and shoulders and breaking below the cloud. Once we start to see that, it makes more sense for alts to do better relative to BTC, but we are not seeing that. And total 2 over BTC looks about as bad as you'd expect it to, and certainly nothing that I'd want to touch here. It's still very much in bearish territory on the cloud. We are approaching the magic potential 320 days after halving, where the last time alts bottomed and bounced and made a new high, but the level is still pretty clear. Something above whatever this, I don't know, 0.65 or something, whatever this is on the ratio, nowhere close to that. So I really, this video format is here so that I can say how bearish I am on alts and express my bearishness because they do not look good and haven't looked good for a long time. But the good news is once this stuff starts to turn around, if it does, then it'll be obvious because it's been so bearish for so long, unquestionably bearish on dominance and on total 2 over BTC. The ancillary, not crypto markets, the watch markets also continue to just push lows here as we're I think that's a new low, almost a new low for the watch index. If we back this out, it's at levels last seen in 2020, post-pandemic. Obviously, all this stuff along with NFTs exploded. That's why I watch the watch charts just to see what the index looks like. My guess is there will be a correlation here. Once this stuff starts to bottom or look bottom-y, you will see crypto start to do better. It's the same money, effectively. It's the same type of people, I'd imagine, trading alts on the retail side, trading watches like this on the retail side, trading NFTs. I imagine it's all the same types of people. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. Before I go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with a link in the description of this video. Non-investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PVI, DBA, Kraken. Looking at the BTC chart first, of course, still in bearish territory, still below the cloud. I think PCE Friday comes in under expectations or at expectations, and so I expect the market to enjoy that news. On the risk side of the spectrum, I don't know if that brings us to 91 or not, but it might. We'll see. The issue, again, isn't Friday. It's April 2nd. What happens April 2nd? What do those tariffs look like? How do markets react to that? That's the day that matters. So in theory, we could see something like that. I don't know. I don't know if we really have the juice to dip below 82, but maybe. But what we want to see post April 2nd is life above the cloud or in the cloud or near the cloud. That's what matters the most. And that's when alts can start to do better. We've had meme coins today up a bunch relative to BTC. Not really sure why. Everything else kind of down. But if I'm trying to paint a chart for a pattern, this is what I would want it to look like. Some sort of triple bottom where we have the uncertainty event behind us. And oh, by the way, the technicals are also flipping back bullish as we get back above the cloud. You can also look at VPVR just to see where the most of the volume is. You can always set a horizontal support resist level somewhere there versus here, right? This is like the no man's land, 92.5 to 95.5. And you'll also notice the VPVR. Most of the volume is at 96.6. So throughout Q2, not tomorrow, not next week, but throughout Q2, once we get above this resistance shelf, then we are in real deal bullish territory. But I don't think it's too much to ask that this would consolidate in no man's land in early Q2 and then push to 100K later in April. But we'll see, right? Otherwise, if this is going to be bearish, where would this go? We could measure, there's the low, there's the local high. If this is going to be bearish, we could potentially see it down here, which would just be back into the previous range. A full retrace of the entirety of the post-election move. I don't think that's completely impossible. It's going to take legacy melting down for that to happen, for BTC to follow. But again, this is the possibility here. Maybe 70, maybe 95. It just feels like a bit of a coin flip on the news, and to me it makes more sense just to wait broadly to do anything in a major way. Ripple still has the head and shoulders. I'll delete that for now, but it still has the head and shoulders possibility here. That hasn't gone away. Something like that, whatever. Ultimately, it has to get above 285 and stay there. It still hasn't invalidated that pattern, and anything below $2, 205, 204, below the cloud there, that is danger territory, because that would mean the head and shoulders was real and is playing out. And that's about all there is to say for Ripple. Not really much to do until it's above 285 or below 205. ETH firmly in bearish territory. Really nothing to say or do here. This is not going to be a first mover. It's going to bottom probably with everything else. It's probably going to take time, and that's it. We can watch this on the 4 hour. It's also not quite looking bullish yet. Maybe at some point, as long as that support can hold, this is out of the 4 hour, but is there really anything with any conviction here that I'd want to touch? No, not anything whatsoever. Sol on the daily, similar to ETH, but has been showing some life above the Tenkin there. I would love to see the Tenkin and the Kijun bottom out. the Kijun is probably going to come down a little bit before it bottoms out. But at that point, you probably have enough evidence for an inverted head and shoulders on lower time frames. You have evidence of a potential bottom, but until April 2nd, it's hard to be sure. This is probably best case, something like this, neckline at 148. And once we get up here, that's the go signal for the cloud for trend, just not there yet. And it doesn't need to be because who knows what's going to happen April 2nd. So that's all that really matters. 148, April 2nd, that's where you want to be. Not much else to do here in the moment, in my opinion. Doge daily, same deal as Sol, starting to finally show signs of life above the Tenkin there. Would love to see this bottom out a little bit longer, and maybe we get a similar rounded idea into April 2nd, and then you have the full complement of stuff going on here, right? So that one also, to me, needs a little more time. Certainly looks more bullish than ETH. Cardano below the cloud, really nothing to do here. I don't see anything. Just in bearish no man's land. I don't think they have Doge ETH, just because I'm thinking about it. No, they don't. But that chart, let me pull it up here. That chart probably looks okay, honestly, because Doge has started to do better than ETH. If we just look at it here, it looks like a potentially triple bottom, potential falling wedge breakout here, not above the daily cloud yet, but kind of goes to show you the longer ETH lags everything, the farther down in the bearish spectrum it gets. Like, we know it's not beating BTC, hasn't for years. It's not beating Sol. It's not looking great against Doge. And there's just less and less of a reason for people to actually want to buy and hold it, at least in the near term. Sol ETH, I'm sure, favors Sol, which slightly, it's been very messy. Not a real signal here, but certainly not bearish. SWI up today, decently, similar story. Starting to break the Tenkin there, starting to break low time frame clouds, potentially trying to signal some sort of bottom. Maybe you get a right shoulder here, maybe you don't. It's always tough with these diagonal patterns. As long as it is above the 4 hour, sure, right? This was the level it needed to cross, so we're almost there. We're almost there. Just makes more sense to me to have a little patience. Pepe has broken out quite a bit relative to everything else. That's the 4 hour back above the cloud there. Either these are just mean reverting because they're down so much, the memes, or we are setting ourselves up for real deal risk on again. At this point, this has almost tapped the Kijun, so the risk reward really isn't there from a setup perspective. The next trade you'd want to take would be a TK crisscross with price in the cloud. That would be the edge to edge from there to there. That would be, to me, the next trade after the mean reversion trade is that, but that is not until Q2. Something to watch for. If this can bottom, like if we want to make stuff up to figure out best case scenario, maybe we get something like this into Q2, and then it's just so obvious. We get the bat signal from outer space, right? We know what to do when there's an inverted head and shoulders, and you've got the cloud on your side, you've got the bullish TK cross. It's just, you have to be patient because it's really not there yet. Now, there's no harm in thinking like, okay, the bottom might be in, maybe it's not, using some intelligent stop loss and just waiting it out, or sitting in cash and doing nothing. But there's really not much to suggest we're ready for that just yet. That would be like an 80% move. Certainly something worth trading if it happens, but we're not quite there yet. So it's important to keep an eye on stuff like that. Also odd that Pepe, I think that's ETH, right? ETH beta up 6%, ETH down 3%. Unusual. LTC no man's land, really nothing to say here. But you're certainly hoping that this is not a just bear flag, right? Don't want to see that. If you're bullish, LTC, also no man's land, really nothing to say here. Looks kind of like everything else. Tau has broken that aggressive downtrend, trying to pull up on low time frames, trying to get the 4 hour cloud on board. Doesn't look horrible. Definitely probably worth an alert later on. It's just, again, how much do you really want to buy before April 2nd? Because if legacy melts down on whatever news, whatever amount of tariffs, whatever percentage tariffs, if legacy melts down, alts are going to melt down. you're going to see negative 15 to 20% in a week or something like that. But Tau trying to bottom, at least. Curve is not a meme. It is DeFi. People are speculating that Curve is doing well because of stablecoin issuance or stablecoins. You know, Curve is like the currency exchanger at the airport where you can trade any currency for any other currency. So maybe there's an expectation with an increase in stablecoins, you're going to see an increase in the need to have this type of service. Daily still below the cloud. Okay. Not quite in the cloud yet either. Don't have a bullish TK cross. So a bit of a no man's land situation there. On the 4 hour, probably want to wait. If that's a shoulder, maybe we get a shoulder here. Maybe there's a horizontal resist at 57. If we measure this out, that would bring us to 95 cents, 75 to 95 cents. Doesn't quite look ready, but it's looking better relative to everything else, right? Trump hasn't really done anything. Yeah, just sort of sitting there. At some point, if there is a real deal bullishness returning, this certainly looks like it's bottoming out. Now you've got unlocks coming, you've got who knows what coming. But if this thing can actually start to bottom, yeah, why can't it do well? Along with everything else. Almost there, not quite, almost. Stellar's basically trading with Ripple, not really much to say there. Some of the memes aren't doing so well with really not much to say. It's so bearish that it's just easier to wait, in my opinion, to see what we can get here. Maybe you get a multi-shouldered, inverted head and shoulders into Q2. And the dream is always multiple trades back to back to back. Worst case scenario is basically what we saw in November where everything was bullish all at once. And you get one trade out of that. That's what you don't want. If you want more than one trading opportunity, you know, people who trade BTC don't care what alts are doing, obviously, but if you're trading alts, you probably care to continuously see setups and trades. Maybe Pepe moves first early in Q2 and it hits close to the target, and then whiff starts to wake up and you get this sector-wide rolling bullishness, and we get whiff for whatever stupid reason, right? Like to 220 again, you know, like sure. I'm not going to say that's an impossibility. I wouldn't count on it at this juncture in time, but that's an insane move. Certainly not expected, but it's not an impossibility. It really isn't if this stuff starts to get bullish again. Looks like a majority of the volume outside of this level is around $1.55. But I think this is the type of thing you have to be looking at seriously if you're trying to plan out things into Q2. Like, what do I not want to miss into Q2? Stuff like this outside of BTC. And for what it's worth, Sol probably will have a similar setup, maybe 158 to 200, something like that. But that's deeper into April. AVAX starting to pull up a little bit, 4 hour starting to look a little better. I just think it's generally a little early on a lot of this stuff. And you can see similar fractals here between last year and potentially this year, where it just grinds you out for months. So you have time. There's plenty of time to buy this stuff. I think it's just a little early across the board. Hondo, same deal. Regardless of RWA, BlackRock, and whatever. Hasn't mattered. Maybe this is a falling wedge. Maybe it's not. Maybe it continues to sell off. There's really nothing preventing this from continuing to dump lower. So it's already in bearish territory. Just wait till some trend metric you like gives you the all clear. SHIB with a nice little Kijun tap there. The next trade at this point would be a edge-to-edge trade, probably later in Q2. You certainly don't want to see these triggering early before the signal, because then to me, it's you don't get what you need to see to actually take the trade, and you just don't pull the trigger. Now you can say, well, there's this huge wedge thing that it's breaking up from. That's fine, but ultimately, if you're trading the cloud, then you're still waiting on the edge-to-edge. XMR, got to talk about it, or I get hate mail. It looks fine. It's above the cloud. It's going to underperform in a bull market. It's going to save you a little bit in a bear market. That's about it. Not much else to say. Nobody can buy it. It's only listed on Kraken. End of story. It's bullish on the weekly. Say massively sold off there. And similar to the memes, into Q2, we are setting ourselves up here for some interesting trading opportunities on alts. You just have to be patient. We're almost there because, again, you could see this. You could see that into Q2. Bullish TK cross, pricing cloud, edge to edge. Nice little move there. Just going to take some time to confirm. It's early. certainly something we could see in April and May. DOT is another one, huge downtrend. Was this a wedge? Is it breaking up? It's trying. It's trying. I still think on all this stuff, it just makes more sense to wait. There's a pretty clear diagonal here on DOT, horizontal, sorry, at 520. Again, IHS, E to E. It's in the cards. We shall see. I think I'll stop there. If there's anything you ever want me to look at, let me know in the comments. Toss me a like, dislike, share, subscribe. That's all I got for this one. Happy trading.